Are you out there? I'm still here, and I'm back. And I'm Maivor, and this is my knitting podcast, Knit My Heart, Sticka Mitt Hjärta. And I'm here to talk about my summer knitting. It's never too late to be late, or how do they say? I haven't been here since Christmas, despite my best intentions. But then that's what happens. Life happens, time flies, and it's summer and I'm knitting and I'm here to talk about that. I thought that I would talk to you about the things that I've been knitting during the summer, for the summer, and a few acquisitions and a few plans. And then I briefly also want to tell you about my adventure at the Jyväskylä Knit Festival last weekend. Let's start off with some socks. I joined the Handmade Sock Society this year again. I think this is the 5th season. There have been several previous seasons. I have made 2 of those, season 3 and season 4. In previous years, I think there wasn't one last year, but maybe the year before. And what the Handmade Sock Society is like a sock club, a package that you buy. You buy the package, and then you get access to 6 sock patterns, and they are released once a month. So 1 sock pattern per month, and you don't know what they're gonna look like beforehand, but you do know that there will be 6 patterns, and you have some basic there's like a theme, and I think this year's theme is Curiosity Cabinet. And the club is run by Helen Stewart, Curious Handmade on Instagram and her website. She's a designer based in Australia, and she generally has very nice sock patterns and patterns in general, and I've liked her previous ones. So I thought that I would join this year. I think it's also a good way to just knit some sock yarn stash, which always seems to accumulate for some strange reason. So joining a sock club or like a knit along really is a good way to get some discipline into just knitting away some of your sock yarn. So this is the first sock that I've finished. The first sock in the knit along, and the first one that I finished. It's called Shadow Box Socks, and it has these a very simple pattern really of just regular holes, basically in lines along the body of the sock. And as a pattern, it's not perhaps that exciting, but I think I'm really pleased with this sock, because I really think the yarn does this pattern. It lifts it quite a bit. This is a merino sock yarn from Wool Nuance Fibers, a local hand dyer here in Finland, and it's in the colorway Dandelion, which I think is very fitting. And the contrasting heel toe and cuff are in a Socks Yeah commercial yarn. So this was the first sock in the Handmade Sock Society. I think this came out in May. Yes, May. And I finished that one. And this is the second pattern in the Handmade Sock Society. It's called the Feather Vane Socks. And this I've knit from a solid commercial yarn, bamboo wool from Hjärtegarn. Now this yarn has some bamboo content and some nylon content, but the bamboo gives it a really nice sheen. So I think this actually turned out quite nice, if I say so myself. And the pattern has like a simple panel of lace and twisted stitches along down the center of it. So these patterns are not very complicated. They are, if you're an experienced knitter, they're easy breezy, but they're well written and they are generally well balanced. I think when it comes to how much pattern is on the sock. Sometimes some patterns just have, I think, too many elements, and they become a bit busy somehow. But these are sort of fairly delightful on the eye. And easy relaxing knits. So that was sock number 2. And then sock number 3 was released in July, so that's this month's sock, and I have started that, but it's not finished yet. So I'm knitting 2 at a time, and I have made it to the heel on both of them. Let me just first show you the cuff. This one is called Seed Pod Socks, and this really only has this design element to it. It has this sort of pattern of twisted stitches or cables, which is like a panel right after the cuff, and then it just the heel or the foot is just plain. Now I've started the heel on one of the socks, and I wanted to be a bit adventurous and try a new heel technique that I haven't tried before. Let's see if I could get this to focus at all or to show, because what I'm trying here is called the tomato heel, and the idea is that it creates quite a round heel with the help of short rows that create sort of wedges, 3 wedges along the sort of shape of the heel. Now, this is there are instructions for this type of heel, but they're not uniform in that they say make short rows up to 8 stitches or 10 stitches. They say make as many. They basically say make as many short rows as you need to, or that looks good, or something like that. And now I've tried. At first I made these short row wedges with 8 stitches or 8 short rows per wedge, if you like, and that turned out way too round. There was way too much fabric in the heel, so I had to rip that, and now I've made the heel with 6 short rows per wedge, and now the heel is too small. No, with 5 is what I've used here. So I think for me the optimal number of short rows is probably 6 or 7 then, and I'm gonna have to redo it once more. So, but we all need a little adventure in life, don't we? And challenging our knitting skills and our knitting a little bit. So I need to work a bit more on that one. And also, I realized that it's not the optimal choice to have a contrast heel when making this technique, because you would actually need to make rounds that go all the way round in between the wedges, and I can't do that if I don't want. Well, I could, I suppose, but I don't want to. So I'm trying to make it work without those full rounds. So yeah, we'll see how that turns out. But that's my experiment. And the yarn in these socks is from also indie dyer Rouva Silmusolmu here in Finland. It's a merino sock yarn, which was actually left over from a sweater I made in this same yarn during the winter, which I think I haven't shared with you. I've shared it on Instagram, but I haven't shared it here. Maybe in the winter I'll have reason to come back to that. But it's in a colorway called Vanha Pika, which I really like. I've used it several times. And this is a mini skein from another indie dyer, Freja Yarn. And one more thing about the heel. I've tried to incorporate in my heels lately. I've tried to incorporate a reinforcement yarn to try and make the heel a little bit more durable and to take a bit more wear before needing to be darned or discarded. And here I've added an alpaca, a lace alpaca yarn to this very basic merino. So that's why that's maybe, I don't know if it shows, it's a little bit fuzzy and it's a little thicker. And in these other ones, in the other two, actually, I have also incorporated reinforcement yarns in the heel. But that was a very, very fine cobweb lace yarn in this green color. So we'll see. I'm experimenting a bit to see if I can make the heel last a bit longer. So yeah, that was my socks. Two finished pairs and one on the go with some heel trouble. And what else? Let's take out another summer project. I don't know how to show this, because there is work in progress here at the top and there is work in progress here at the bottom. But this is the twist loop top. It's by the designer calls themselves Other Loops, so I don't even know the name of that person. But you'll find it on Ravelry or on Instagram as Other Loops. And this is a sleeveless tank top that has just basic ribbing and then these twisted cables on just down the front. And this is quite close to being finished. As you can maybe see, I am working on the neckline right now, which is made double. So I've knitted it and I'm folding it down over, and then now I'm attaching it while I'm binding off. I'm attaching it to the inside while binding off. And that I think looks pretty good so far. And then along the armholes there is to be an I-cord edging, like a fairly slim I-cord edging that will also stabilize the armholes a little bit. And then at the bottom I think it's just a plain bind off. No, because this is ribbing already, so I think you just bind off. So this is fairly close to being finished. This is the yarn in here is by BC Garn, and it's the Bio Balance, I think, which has wool and cotton. So it's a wool and cotton blend. Now I'm always a little apprehensive about the garments that are knit in rib, because I find that rib, especially when after a bit of wear, it tends to relax, loosen up, and then especially on me, I find that it just gathers in, well, you can't see it now. It will gather, it will bulk up or gather itself in waves around the waist, which is not that flattering. And that for me that probably has to do with the fact that I have a very short waist, so my hips kind of come and the sweaters encounter my hips and then they sort of wave up, like in a not too flattering way. So this is a bit of an experiment. This is a bit of an experiment as well, to see how this behaves and if I actually like how it looks, or if I need to adjust the length to get rid of that rippling effect around the waistline. But other than that, the top I really like, the top half and the sort of silhouette around the neckline and the arms I really like in this one. And although it really looks extremely slim here, I mean it will stretch quite a bit. So yeah, now we are in the middle of July, and I'm hoping that I will still get a bit of wear out of this one, because, well, typically your summer knits, even though you start them at a good time, they will still not be finished before the summer, ever. But for next summer, if nothing else. Next up is another summer project that that is the one that I've been working on the longest this year, and which is still not finished. Partly because I've been in two minds about certain solutions or decisions and how to make it. And this is a very basic t-shirt, the classic scoop tee by K. Hopkins. A raglan construction, scoop neck, basic sleeves, basic body, nothing extraordinary about it, but it's made in a very nice yarn from Aara Yarns, and another indie dyer here in Finland. And this is a one-of-a-kind colorway and also a discontinued yarn, I think, on their part. It is wool, merino and silk, 50-50, I think. And I bought this yarn at the Neulovasa event earlier in the spring. And I started it, I think, in May, and I knitted it quite fast, but then it kind of stalled because I couldn't make up my mind how I wanted certain things. And one of them was how to finish the sleeves. And now I have finished the bottom with a very simple bind off edge. Now, this tee also has, how can I show this now? As you can maybe see, if I lift it like that, it has a high-low hem, which means that the back is longer. I can't quite position this now. Back is longer. The back is longer than the front. So it kind of curls down a bit at the back, which is nice, but with this very, very simple, I think it's just 2 rows of pearl stitches before binding off, I find it looks a bit cut off at the bottom. So I'm thinking about going back and remaking the bind off or the finishing at the bottom in the same manner as the neckline, which I still haven't bound off, but I have actually finished it. It is sort of 2 pearl ridges with some knit stitches in between, and the same in the sleeves. Now I think that would actually make the bottom finish edge a bit more full and look like it's a bit more finished than with just this two row pearl edge, which it has now. So you see, sometimes you just get stuck on details like that. How do I do it? Do I do it like this? Do I do it like that? And then you don't finish. So this is very nearly finished. And let me just do a quick transformation. Okay, so now you can see this is on. I still have some needles around my neck, but I think this is the neckline is fairly correct this way, and you can see the fit is a bit snug still, but I am thinking it will probably relax in blocking, in the edge. Where am I going? Is right there, and then it sort of dips a little. Now this was very hard to show, but it dips a little towards the back, and it also has like a faux seam along the side there. So yeah, now that I'm looking at this, I think this looks really nice. Where did my hair go? This looks really nice. So why haven't I finished it? I really need to finish it, because this would actually work very well as a summer sweater, summer tee. So yes, those were my summer tops. I haven't really worked on any heavier garments during the summer. I have a few VIPs that are heavier sweaters, but they can wait. I'll pick those up when the weather cools down. Okay, transformed back into my Kuutar. And I think my hair got a little droopy and messed up while doing my quick change here, but you will have to live with that. Okay, let me then show you a few of my knit festival related items. So the Jyväskylä Knit Festival was held last weekend, second weekend of July in Jyväskylä, in the backyard or in the inner courtyard of the Tyyne yarn store, which is quite famous both here in Finland and I think also worldwide. Has an excellent selection of yarns and also a very active member of the knitting community and promoting both designers and publishers and then also being very heavily involved in the Jyväskylä Knit Festival. So it was my first time there at the festival, and it was fabulous. A bit overwhelming, I have to admit. I get easily overwhelmed when there are just masses of people, masses of things to look at. There were about 20, apart from the Tyyne store, there were about 20, sorry, I have some yarn wandering about my face. There were about 20 independent sellers in the yard, indie dyers, notions, mostly from Finland, but also some international ones. And the atmosphere was wonderful. You know, imagine just a courtyard full of knitters and yarn and knitted garments, and yeah, it was great. I'll insert just a quick. I didn't take a lot of pictures. I think I was just a bit taken with the whole thing, so I didn't remember to take a lot of pictures. But there is a lot of footage and a lot of content on Instagram if you're interested in having a look at the Jyväskylä Knit Festival account. And I'll insert just a quick footage that I recorded myself from the festival as well. And one of the things leading up to the festivals every year is that an official pattern is released that has to do with that year's. It's like a theme pattern for that year's festival. And this year it was a shawl, the Toivo, which means hope, the Toivo festival shawl. And I actually made this shawl this year. I'm generally not one to jump onto knit-alongs and sort of hypes where a lot of people make the same pattern. I try to be a bit more unique, which of course this Kuutar tea isn't, because there were a lot of Kuutar teas at the festival. And this year I also made the shawl. So yeah, here we go. So here is my festival shawl. Let's see if I can. It's a triangular shawl, like that. Geez, it's so hard to navigate when I'm seeing myself on a screen and it's mirrored, so it's so hard to tell where to go with my knitting. So this is quite large. It is made from Sandnesgarn Sunday, which is a fine fingering yarn, a non-super wash, fairly tightly spun yarn, but very, very nice to knit with. I loved making this. It was so nice on the hands, and it has such a nice and soft and feel to it without being rough as some yarns can be, which also has their place definitely. But I think this was definitely a very good yarn for this pattern. So it has this fairly large section first of just this textured rows, and then they turn into some larger. Wow, this is so hard, man. And then it just ends with a plain rib. So I felt that this, and I also chose this very neutral sort of almondy color this time, even though this is perhaps not normally something I would choose, but I find that this color is neutral and it goes with a lot of garments, like in the winter time as well, with winter coats and stuff. So yeah, I made it, and I finished it like literally on the way to Jyväskylä. I wove in the last ends, and then we had our picture taken. All of the knitters who had made this shawl had gathered together and showed our shawls. So that was kind of fun. So that means I have one more shawl. Like I didn't have a number of shawls from before, but I'm a knitter. I need shawls. So that was the Toivo Festival shawls, and the pattern is by Tiina from Tititu, Tiina Huhtaniemi, who is the owner of the Tititu yarn shop. So that was made for the festival, and at the festival, of course, I purchased some yarn, because what else can you do? Even though I did try to restrain myself, and I was pretty good, I think. I did get a few souvenir skeins, and I'm not gonna show you all of those that are, but I'm gonna show you the yarn that I have a clear plan for, and that's also by Ara, and it is a merino and mohair blend, and it's a single spun yarn, which means that you basically get the merino and the mohair in one, rather than having to have two yarns, which is often the case if you combine merino and mohair. And this has a very soft and subtle coloring of soft pink, dusty greens, and like a vanilla background. And I think this is so lovely, and it is a very sort of drapey yarn. So, and I am thinking, or I am considering making this pattern. I'll show you just now. This sweater, which is called Mimmi, and this is found in the Finnish Taito magazine. That's the pattern here as well. And Finnish Taito magazine, and it's by a Finnish designer called Maria Kostamovara. And the recommended yarn for this pattern is actually this Ara Vieno, which is this precise one. So that's one option. Now this is a very plain raglan sweater, and it has, I don't know if you can see, it has these little noops around the neckline and around the cuffs and the hem. So that's basically all the extra design element in it. Now I am a bit in two minds about whether to make this like a basic round neck, or whether to make something with a V neckline, because that's the other alternative I have for this yarn. So you will have to stay tuned to see what happens. I haven't quite decided, but this is certainly a strong contender, because I think this is really cute. So that was kind of the sweater quantity of yarn that I bought at the festival. Was there anything else? Yes, I was going to show you. The notions. These little. Let's see. Are they in focus? Yes, I think they are. In front of my face, like that. Yeah. These little needle stoppers I also bought at the festivals from the knitting barber, who is actually local here in my town. So I could buy them anytime, but I bought them at the festival, and they are very handy for preventing your needles from piercing your project bags, but also if, like in this one, if you want to try it on and pull it over your head while your needles are still in it, it's very handy because you won't drop any stitches. And you can still stretch as much as you can, as the needles allow. Stretch your knitting as much as the needles allow. In general, in this project, which I now seem to have somehow got tangled up in itself, there are some other notions. There are the knitting cords that are also from the knitting barber, where I had some provisional or some live stitches at the armhole, and there's also a row counter, which is from another notions seller, Knits by Cindy Ekman. So yeah, knitting notions are a necessity. Nice to have and fun to buy. Now, if you haven't encountered one of these row counters before, it has 10 interconnected rings, which means that you move one ring up for each row that you make, and then you can put an additional marker to mark that you've made 10, 20, 30, 40, and so on. So you can basically count up to 100 with one of these nifty little things. Yes. Finally, I want to mention another plan that I have for a sweater. Now, the first plan was for this yarn, and then I have purchased during the summer another yarn, which is this one, to complement a yarn that I already had, in order to make the Tyyne sweater, which is also a knit along, and a pattern that has been very popular this summer. So it seems like I'm on the popular bandwagon now. Now the Tyyne sweater, I'll insert a picture from the pattern here or here somewhere, just so you can get an idea. It is a striped sweater and a single in a yarn, in two different yarns. One is the recommended yarn is one yarn is a singles yarn, which this one is from the Norja store, and the other one, oh, let me just get this. The other one is a mohair. So they are the stripes alternate between like a slightly thicker singles yarn and a single mohair yarn, which gives this sort of translucent, partly translucent effect. And here I have made a small swatch, and these are the yarns. This is the singles yarn from Norja, it's in the colorway called Nebula, and this is the same yarn caked up, and I have paired it with a mohair, a single skein of mohair that I have bought, and of course I didn't know what to make with it, which has similar colors in it, and this is from Woolmy Ones. It's called Bee Steps. So I took a bit of a chance ordering this yarn, thinking that it would go with this, but not being sure. But I think they actually work, and I have made a small swatch. And this is what it looks like. Now I think that is close enough to actually match. This lower bottom one has slightly more green tones to it and stronger yellow, whereas than this one. But I think that they will actually work really well together. So that's another plan to make the Tyyne sweater. And I wanted to make these lightweight sweaters that are easily stored, or more importantly, that can easily travel or be packed down if you're going traveling, that don't weigh a lot, don't take up a lot of space, and that you can use as layering pieces when traveling, for instance, because I have possibly a bit of travel ahead of me. And I found that my knitwear is or knitting wool garments are absolutely the best thing for a variety of weather conditions. But if they are bulky and heavy, they also take up a lot of space if you want to pack fairly light. So now with these two plans that I have here, I am looking to make some more lightweight woolen garments that I can easily throw in some lightweight packing when going somewhere. So yeah, that was quite a full roundup, don't you think? I had quite a bit to show you. And that is where my camera stopped recording. Thanks for watching. I hope you have a lovely summer with lots of knitting time. Please give me a thumbs up if you enjoy what you see, so you can help my channel grow. See you next time. Bye.